Welcome to Professor Bernard's channel. This video talks about C-array. Let's dive in. An array is a fundamental data structure in computer science used to store a collection of elements of the same data type. It provides a contiguous block of memory where each element can be accessed using an index or a key. The elements within an array are typically of homogeneous data types, meaning they are all of the same type, such as integers, floating point numbers, characters, etc. The syntax for declaring an array in is data type array name size. Let's break down each component. Data type. This is the type of data that the array will hold. It can be any valid data type in the programming language, such as int, for integers, float, for floating point numbers, or char, for characters. Array name. This is the name given to the array variable. You can choose any valid identifier as the name. Size. This specifies the number of elements that the array can hold. It must be a non-negative integer value. This size determines the capacity of the array and is fixed once the array is declared. Putting it all together, let's consider this example. Int numbers 5. This declares an array named numbers that can hold 5 elements, and each element will be of type int. So, numbers is an array capable of storing 5 integer values. After declaring the array, you can access individual elements using their indices. In this case, the indices range from 0 to 4, inclusive, since arrays in most programming languages are zero-indexed. For example, number 0 refers to the first element, numbers 1 refers to the second element, and so on, up to numbers 4, for the fifth element. An array is defined at compile time with a fixed, constant size. Int numbers 5, this declares an array named numbers of size 5 capable of holding integers. It's important to note that this declaration does not initialize the values within the array. So, the elements of the array numbers will initially contain garbage values or whatever was previously stored in that memory location. Int numbers 8 equals 0. This declares an array named numbers of size 8 and initializes all elements of the array to 0. This is called zero initialization, where all elements of the array are set to the value specified, in this case, 0. Int number 7 equals 1, 2. This declares an array named numbers of size 7 and initializes the first 2 elements to 1 and 2 respectively. After that, the remaining elements are initialized to 0 by default, because there are not enough initializers provided to initialize all elements of the array. This is known as partial initialization, where only certain elements of the array are explicitly initialized, and the rest are zero initialized. Int numbers equals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This declares an array named numbers and initializes it with the provided values 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The size of the array is determined by the number of elements provided in the initializer list, which is 6 in this case. The array numbers will contain these values in order, i.e., number 0 will be 1, numbers 1 will be 2, and so on. The array is compile time created and allocated contiguous blocks of memory on the stack or in the data segment of the program's memory. An array does not know its length, but the size of operator can be used to determine the number of elements allocated for the array using the following line. Size_t capacity equals size of numbers, size of int. The program calculates the sum of the elements in the numbers array. The numbers array contains 5 integers, 13, 34, 47, 67, and 102. It initializes a variable summed to 0. It then iterates over each element of the numbers array using a for loop. Inside the loop, it adds each element of the numbers array to the sum variable. After the loop, it prints the value of sum. Finally, the program returns 0 to indicate successful execution. In runtime arrays, the size of the array is determined during program execution, i.e., at runtime. The size of the array is not known until the program is running. The size of runtime arrays can be determined based on user input, calculations, or other dynamic factors during program execution. The array is runtime created using one of the following functions: nums equals int calloc num_elements, size of int, nums equals int malloc num_elements. The calloc and malloc allocate memory on the heap, num_elements type. For example, if num_elements equals 8, 8 by 4 bytes are allocated in contiguous memory on the heap. This C code is a program that dynamically allocates memory for an array of integers based on user input for the size of the array. It declares size of type integer, prompts the user to enter the size of the array, reads the size entered by the user, allocates memory dynamically for an array of integers using malloc, prompts the user to enter numbers. It repeatedly reads the integers entered by the user into the dynamically allocated array. It literally prints the entered integers, frees the dynamically allocated memory. Take note that you have to include stdlib.h library whenever you are using malloc and free keywords. As a recap, arrays in C are a fundamental data structure used to store a collection of elements of the same data type. In C, array elements are accessed using an index, starting from 0 for the first element and increasing sequentially. Memory for arrays in C can be allocated statically, compile time, or dynamically, runtime, using functions like malloc or calloc from the standard library. That's all for this video. See you in the next videos for more C programming topics.